Good morning. What a beautiful morning here in Minnesota. The perfect kind of morning to leave and go to Sound of Silence in Custer, South Dakota. So just finishing the charge up, gonna pack the car this morning, get my daughter on the bus, and then hit the road because this first stretch to meet up with the convoy is going to be a pretty tight time schedule. So want to be all prepped so she gets on the bus and we hit the road. The bus is leaving. The car is packed up, set to 100%, 8:30 a.m., let's go. Good morning, and it is a beautiful morning for a road trip. We're about almost a half hour into the trip, starting to get a little cloud cover here, but it started off just beautiful and sunny, and the fresh leaves on the tree are so bright green. Everything looks so fantastic that it's just really a great day to take off and start an adventure. We are headed down to Worthington, Minnesota from Burnsville. It's right now saying we'll get there at about 10 minutes after 11, which is good. Should give us enough time to charge up and meet the other folks for the convoy. I was a little concerned about that, but I think we're going to be in good shape. With the temperatures at 64 and I don't think there's much wind, half hour into the trip and we're still just at 90%. So getting pretty good efficiency at 284 watt hours per mile for the last half hour. So I'll definitely take that. It'll be interesting to see if the other guys on the trip are going to want to go for speed or efficiency. So we'll play that by ear. But I am just stuck behind a couple semis, but other than that, just in perfect road trip mode. I don't have a co-pilot with me this time, but ready to roll and meet up with the convoy. So unless something really exciting happens, I'll probably take a little bit more B-roll, but other than that, I'll talk to you in Worthington. Okay, so a little change of plans. It's one of those when it rains it pours kind of days. So I was just about to Mankato and school called and said my daughter has a runny nose, and with the COVID policies and everything, just wanting to be careful that she needs to come home from school. So not a big deal. I called my wife, called Ellie to have her go pick her up. She headed over there and the steering went out in the Prius. So she's at an intersection, luckily no accident or anything, but she's having to call a tow truck, get that sorted out. With other work things and stuff she's got to deal with, I'm just going to pack Joan up and take her with me on the trip, but that means backtracking from Mankato back up to Burnsville to pick Joan up from school, get her stuff, then we'll head back south and west to head to South Dakota. So this trip just got a couple hours longer than intended, and I would guess on the way back we're at 67% now. I should be able to get there and back to St. Peter easily with that much charge. So when coming back south, then I will be charging here in St. Peter, then on our way to Worthington. So we're going to be a few hours later, and I'm going to have my co-pilot, which is going to be fun, but kind of change the dynamic of the weekend a little bit. But I think we'll get it all sorted out, and it will be okay. Come back to you, hopefully headed south again, and having a real start to the trip. I'll catch you later when I have a plan and we're moving again. All right, just leaving home for the second time. We got on the road at about 11:12, left the driveway, but we've already gone 139 miles, used 40 kilowatts, and at 287 watt hours per mile. So pretty good efficiency. Hopefully the wind stays down, and we're at 41%, plenty enough to get back to St. Peter, where we'll supercharge at the new Superchargers, and then continue on the trip as planned. Okay, so we're back on the road now, and I've got my co-pilot with me. Joan, can you say hi? Can you wave? we're just going to make noise with our toys. Now we're going to need to charge in St. Peter because we're down to 36%. By the time we got home and everything, we had 41%, but we've been on the road for a little bit here. It says we'll get to St. Peter with about 15%, so that'll be a good pit stop. We're going to get some refill on some toys when we're there too. So this trip is going to be a little different than we talked about earlier, but playing it by ear and doing the best we can. So we'll stop and get some lunch along the way, and then hopefully a relatively quick charge in St. Peter. Then I imagine we'll have to charge again in Worthington for a couple minutes and just make our way. We've obviously missed the convoy. They're going to be leaving in about a half an hour, but we'll just have our own little convoy party, Joan and I, and make our way. Sounds like there might be some storms coming eastward, so we'll see how that treats our efficiency and everything, but I'll keep you posted. And we're just gonna play this weekend by ear. Alright, just got to St. Peter, 15% after about 10 minutes of preconditioning. It's 12:13. So far we've gone 196 miles, averaging 292 watt-hours per mile. We'd just done our North Shore family road trip the past weekend, so my brother bought some different car toys for Joan to play with on this trip. They played while I ran into the Hy-Vee for a restroom break and more kid-friendly snacks. Alright, overstayed here in St. Peter, but it's about 12:40. 83%. Saying we should get there with 35, so plenty of buffer. We overstayed our welcome here. Now it's time to hit the road. So back in Mankato a couple hours later, and we're about to the point. This is the exact spot where I turned around this morning. So now we're back on the road. We've got more overcast, drove through a little rain, but comfortable 72-degree day, and overall decent drive so far. Now we'll actually get into the meat of it. We've got lunch, we've got snacks. We're ready to power through the rest of the day. Almost 1 o'clock, we're rolling. Alright, just got to Worthington, 306 miles into the trip, 307 watt-hours per mile. Since last charge, 110 miles, 334 watt-hours per mile. Time to get charging. We're at 28%. Went into the Holiday Inn Express and used the restroom, came back. We're already up to 62%. Saying we'll get to Mitchell with -4%, so wanting to stay here for 15 more minutes. It wasn't windy in central Minnesota, but southern Minnesota, and now that we're on the plains, is very windy. And it looks like it's, if you look at that flag over there, it looks like it's mostly coming up from the south, so it'll be a crosswind, but still it's gonna affect us. So gonna give it a few extra minutes here, make sure we're good to go. Want to make sure we have enough buffer, especially with Joan in the car now. As I'm editing, I see in this photo the beginning of a problem I won't discover until later. On the lower front passenger side, the black trim is separating from the blue bumper. I hit a raccoon last fall and lost a couple of the clips holding these together. It hadn't been an urgent issue to fix, so I kept forgetting about it. But in this clip from St. Peter, you can see how it had been, and then the difference in Worthington. By the time I discover it in South Dakota, it's considerably worse, has drag marks, and has been acting as an air brake against my efficiency. More to come on this. Alright, it's saying we're going to get to Mitchell, 16% now. Let's hope that's enough with this wind. And we're at 84%, 253, and it's almost 90 degrees here, so hot and windy. I just looked on the windy app, and it looks like we're going to have 20-mile-an-hour winds, headwinds, or worse from here all the way out to Custer. So kind of the downside of driving west across the plains. I slowed our speed down. We were going 73. Normally in a 70, I'd be going 75 or higher. We're now doing 70. And it says we'll arrive in Mitchell with 6%, but it originally said 13%. I wouldn't be surprised if, as we get closer to Sioux Falls, if it doesn't have us top off for a little bit down there. It's unfortunate, but that is the good side of there being so many superchargers that you can skip some usually. On a day like today, where we might need to be a little more conservative, we could always make that pit stop if we need to. With myself, I don't mind getting to 0 and just driving real slow the last couple miles if I have to, but obviously this is a different situation. It's also warmed up quite a bit. When I originally left home this morning, it was in the 50s. We're now 90 degrees and windy, so big difference, and we'll see what we come up against as we head through South Dakota, but this is not the trip I was expecting. All right, here we go into South Dakota at 3:33 p.m. We made the call to stop in Sioux Falls just to be safe, not push our luck. We've had enough adventure already, so we're going to make a quick stop there, make sure we're set to get to Mitchell and beyond. Especially with the speed limit going up to 80 here, that wind is going to make an even bigger difference. Sioux Falls. This place stinks. It's so iced. It's ridiculous and annoying, but we're here. This a-hole should have probably parked sideways so he could block 3 spots. Enough charge to continue trip. It's wanting us to go to Oacoma. We'll see if we have enough charge for that. That'd be great. Skipping an extra stop would be fantastic, but we'll see. 89%, costs about $12.93. All right, we made it into South Dakota. We charged up at Sioux Falls, even with my bad attitude there. Of course, it was iced. Funny, I was recording that clip. I don't know if you could hear it with the wind, but I was talking about how, that person with the truck. This a-hole should have probably parked sideways so he could block 3 spots. Turns out she was walking out of the store right behind me, and I don't really care. She was a little bit older woman, and not old enough to not know what she wasn't too old that she didn't understand what she was doing. And clearly with the license plate, I think it was pretty intentional. I didn't talk to her at all, but it's just the thought of how people would lose their minds if Tesla owners parked in a diesel fueling space or even a gas fueling space and just left their car there. That would not go over well. So I don't know why people can't put themselves in someone else's shoes and just be cool. But at that stop, we were able to get some fruit and do another restroom break and everything. So that was good. Once we got back up onto Interstate 90, the navigation changed and is now navigating us back to Mitchell, South Dakota, which it was originally thinking we'd skip one, but I think it's sensing our consumption is kind of high with this wind. But that's all right. I would rather stop at every one for, a short stop and do the speed limit or a little above Here the speed limit's 80. The max you can do on FSD is 80, so that works out. But staying with the flow of traffic is good. More stops isn't so bad with Joan in the car too, so taking a less adventurous path, but hopefully it cuts down on the drama for the day. And it's about 4:45. We are going to hit a time zone change, I think, at Oacoma when we cross the river, but we'll see. We got to make it to Custer tonight, so whenever that happens, that happens. Just got to Mitchell with 44%. 5:34, saying we'd get to Oacoma at 0%. So 10-minute stop here, roughly. It'll take us longer, but we'll just see what we get. Time to plug in. It's so windy out here. All right, we are west of Mitchell. Ellie called me to tell me the news about the car. The Prius, the steering went out on it this morning, so they've got parts ordered. That's going to be repaired on Monday. Expensive, but good to know that's going to be able to be taken care of. But she called right as we were leaving Mitchell, so I'm not sure if I recorded the screen or not before I unplugged, but we were at about 86% and a little before 6 p.m. Overcharged there, but had to take Joan over to the store and back. By the time we did that, did the restroom, the car was ready to go. So we're headed to Oacoma, and with this wind and the speed limit of 80, we're averaging 509 watt hours per mile, which is pretty insane. The windmills are all going out here. But what's cool is on the trip graph, it seems to be accounting for, hey, this is how you've been driving. And so it's added, originally, like, it was having me skip Mitchell and go right to Oacoma. It added Mitchell back in. It's also added Murdo in there, which it was having me stop. It was going to have me charge for a long time at Oacoma and go all the way to Wall. And now it's just said, hey, stop everywhere, get charged, and knock those charging times down. So I think that's a better plan anyway, and so I'm glad to see the Tesla system adapted and is now suggesting that. So in my trips, I don't think I've seen that before, at least not this severely. So I'm glad. That would definitely help people less experienced, not understanding what they're doing, and just giving a little more of a helping hand. So that's cool to see. We are kind of going in intermittent clouds. We'll have big, like, dust clouds, then sunshine, then regular clouds, and so we're just kind of dealing with all the weather, and the wind is just throwing it all around. But we're plowing through. But right now it's saying we'll get to Oacoma at 31%. I think there's also a time change then as we cross the river, so we'll gain an hour and just keep plugging away on our way to Custer tonight. It's estimating 15 minutes here in Oacoma, and we'll go to Murdo and Wall, then Custer. So we're making tracks. Time to plug in. All right, just stopped by the gas station, the Pump and Pack. Realized as we walked out of Al's Oasis that the trim piece in front of the car was hanging down a lot. I'm guessing all the force of the wind was pulling at it more and more, and it had popped out. So not getting that trim piece fixed before these trips was a bad idea. Because I have PPF on the front bumper, I'm just going to Gorilla Tape it to the trim. Hope that seal keeps it from wanting to spread. And I'll just have to deal with the consequences. But it's better than it tearing off and me driving over it in the middle of the road. Not an ideal situation, but one of my own making. It was actually out worse than this, but I fixed it a little bit. All right, that's pretty janky, but it's a few layers thick, and will hopefully keep the wind from prying that apart. We'll see. This is not a good place to have a major trim malfunction. Sun to silence, we've done 520 miles. Our energy consumption's gone way up. We're at 91%. We stayed way too long, but had to fix that trim piece. Hopefully that works. Let's hit the road. We are west of Oacoma, and we actually had bad luck, good luck there at that stop. I think just having that seam sealed will keep air pressure out of there and hopefully do the trick. And luckily I made that fix before it started raining. So hopefully it's surviving the rain and the air pressure. So really grateful that I found it. Hopefully have a temporary fix on there. Hopefully my lack of preparedness for the road trip and not getting those tabs taken care of is not going to come back to bite me, but we'll see. This day is still young. The Prius and this situation, the name of the game is don't let maintenance items go too long or you're going to regret it. Sometimes all in the same day. More road construction down to single lane, but there's not much traffic. It's not causing a big problem right now. Navigate on autopilot wants to use all the extra lanes, and it can't. So we're just looking at cows and rain and traffic. Our next stop will be Murdo in about 38 minutes. Just kind of puddle jumping here from charger to charger, but overcharging at every stop like we usually do, and something always comes up. Looks like if we can make it past these clouds, we'll have a pretty sunset tonight, so cross our fingers for that. Just got to Murdo with 44%. It's 8:30, saying 15 minutes here. We need to figure out dinner. You know, there's a pizza place next door. We'll see if they're open. And Wall and Custer, so we're making tracks. Okay, in Murdo, it looks like, at least here, the wind has calmed down. Right inside here. We'll see how it is when we get back on the road. But the patch is holding 78%, which should be more than what we need. And I just wanted to show the front is still holding. So that's good news. Saying we are going to get to Wall 26%, so that's plenty, especially if the wind's died down. 8:47, 50 degrees, cooling off, but we are ready to roll. Right, 27%, 8:55. We're saying need about 20 minutes here, and that'll get us to Custer. So plug it in. All right, Wall, South Dakota. I gotta find something to eat. Ramping up. We were preconditioning, so we should charge pretty quickly. It's saying 25 minutes here. We need to find a restroom and some food and get moving. or 78%, but only charging at 58 kilowatts. So it says we have enough to continue the trip, and we're definitely not charging fast enough to stick around. So everything in downtown Wallace or around Wall Drug is closed pretty much. So we're gonna gas station it on the way out of town. We're going around, I believe, the backside of Mount Rushmore to the more direct route to Custer. And this last stretch, there was almost no traffic on the way to Rapid City, and I think I've seen 2 cars since we got out of the city area, and now we're on the back roads. Almost to Custer. It'll be nice to get there. I think we're going to get there with 24% or something like that. So I think I will stop at the Superchargers since it's going to be a little after 11 at night. Plug in just long enough to figure out the directions to the hotel, which is just out of town. Like I said, just probably plug in for 10 minutes, head right to the hotel so we're not sitting at 20% overnight. But yeah, really appreciative of Autopilot. It's doing a great job. Navigate on Autopilot. I've taken it out a handful of times in construction areas and things like that, but it's just such a game changer. I'm going to have done over 750 miles today, and not that I really want to go more, and we did have to charge a little extra with the wind, but all in all, this has been pretty fantastic. So looking forward to finding the hotel, dumping our bags in there, and just going right to sleep. Figure tomorrow morning. Oh, that is a fox. I just saw a fox run across the street. 18 minutes till we get to town, so getting there soon. So just got to Custer, 23% at 11:05. Gone 770 miles today. Average energy shot up 379 watt hours per mile. We're gonna plug in for a couple minutes, then find that hotel. And hey, look, it's Tim. It's late. We're charged up to 48%. That's good enough for tonight. It is cold, it's 37 degrees, but we're staying about a mile away. Just talked to Tim and heard about some of their adventures on the way over, so we're gonna unplug here now and we'll top up in the morning. All right, Jonah, you ready to find the hotel? Get some sleep? Yeah, me too. And before everyone falls asleep, that's where we'll end it this week. We did make it to the hotel, got a decent night's sleep, and set us up for a good weekend of lots of amazing sights, some cool wildlife, and I'll bring that all to you next week. With all of the challenges of the trip, we had a pretty inefficient drive, unfortunately. We had about 15 and a half hours from when I left home till when we got to the hotel that night. And unfortunately, 3 hours and like 10 minutes was charge time, which is pretty horrific, not efficient at all. Obviously, we had the turnaround, which added, an extra long stop too, but our total trip cost was $105.60, and that was for, I believe, 770 miles. So we'll do a full breakdown of all the financials and charge stop time and all that stuff at the end of this series. It's probably going to be 3 videos. Like I said, next week will be the actual Sound of Silence rally, which was a lot of fun, and then the road trip home, which is a little bit more efficient. So stay tuned for all of that. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And I really do appreciate you watching. Look forward to sharing the Sound of Silence experience with you next week. So have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.